one is the culmination of organic happenstance, let's say. Ever since Jill and I were young, we've had the opportunity and fortune to be in the woods for a large portion of our lives. There's pictures of myself foraging for morel mushrooms in Glen Arbor at the age of 4. Jill and I actually went to kindergarten and first grade together, so we have a lifelong history, and it's really unique to come together, and our love for the woods has just really grown into a wonderful opportunity for us to serve the community.
And I have a bachelor's degree in marketing, and my background is hospitality management with a little bit of culinary in the mix there. And so I just love to cook, and so utilizing these treats that we can find in nature really was something that appealed to me. After I moved away from hospitality management, I kind of wanted to put my focus into something culinary. So we opened up Great Lakes Treats kind of as a catering company, but my real passion was to be in the woods, and I knew that from the beginning. Even in my past life, you know, I'd take my lunch breaks in the woods, and it was hard to come back to the desk after that. The majority of our business is collecting wild foraged mushrooms for both culinary and medicinal purposes. The culinary mushrooms are seasonal, so we start out with the spring, and everybody knows the morel mushroom, so that's probably our most popular time of the year. But also at that time there's a mushroom called the pheasant's back, and from there there's a spring oyster mushroom, and then we kind of go into other species of mushrooms that are delicious, like the chanterelle, which we're finding right now, and then there's a whole slew of delicious culinary mushrooms that can be found in the fall.
The fall is an exciting time. There's the hedgehog mushrooms, there's the giant puffball, which is fun for all ages, as well as for the culinary dishes. We also have the hen of the woods, there's a chicken of the woods, there's a shrimp of the woods. There's really just a surplus, let's say, come fall time, but we really jump all over the place when it comes down to it.
It's funny, people think, you know, once the morels are done, that's the only wild forage mushroom that you can enjoy, when in reality, fall is the busiest time of the year for us.
Navigating and doing a lot of research prior to getting out the door really is where it's at. I learned how to recognize what quaking aspen and poplar trees look like from a satellite and aerial view. And the quaking aspen, they're associated with a few different mushrooms. The darker morel mushroom as an example. And then in the springtime, there's an oyster that's particularly associated with quaking aspen. And this time of year, as we are in early August, that exact same wooded topography is where I'm finding the chanterelles frequently. The chanterelles have a couple different trees that they're associated with. If it's not the quaking aspen, I'll find them in like oak and beech. Knowing what quaking aspen looks like from a satellite imagery has really been a huge bonus in the past, because I can scout out, I can look across the state almost if I have enough time to sit at home and figure out what's the closest available area, or the private land that we have permission to be on. Do they have any quaking aspen in the back? There's a lot of rhyme and reason when it comes to wild forage mushrooms, but it's not like a tell-all. It's not like if you found them on the 15th of August last year, you're gonna find that exact same mushroom on the 15th this year. But it gives you a window, and then so you know that based on the weather, whether we've had a lot of rain or heat or humidity, all these variables come into play. Chaga, for example, is one of our staples. Been foraging and finding chaga for the last couple decades now. Chaga is a mushroom that's found on birch as an example. But when it comes to, like, say, chaga hunting, I have tree climbing equipment, backpack. I always make sure my phone's charged. I always like to stay hydrated. Make sure I have good shoelaces even, that type of thing, you know. You have to be creative. You have to use a lot of what I consider common sense, but doing your research, paying attention mostly, but taking notes. Jill coined a phrase in one of these podcasts that we had an opportunity to be involved with last year, and she said, you know, the best mushroom hunter is somebody who goes out there and scouts and tries to find their own location or their own area, and then remembers that area and goes back the next year. As we get closer to fall time and the temperatures start to drop at night, certain mushrooms are going to want to start to grow. So paying attention to weather, obviously having permission, all those key factors, having the mapping tools, always carrying some water and making sure you're hydrated, having a good pair of shoes, a decent backpack. Frequently I'll drop a pin. You can do that with Google or Onyx, and what that helps me do is remember where I park. So if I'm in an area that I'm not very familiar with and I'm far away and I know that I only have a couple hours before I need to get home, I can find the car. Some of the websites or apps, I should say, that I use, they're based on satellite. So even when I have no cell phone reception, I can still look and I can be guided by the app that's on my phone. This week isn't completely unusual in regards to highway or miles on the road. I know that I did put over 1,000 miles on the road this last week looking for mushrooms, just largely due to the fact that our entire region has really been in drought.
Farmers markets are super necessary for us. You know, for one, it's a customer feedback, so we can learn what customers are looking for. And a lot of those folks are, you know, come from the city and they might not have heard of the mushrooms that we're selling, you know, but just to get out there and talk mushrooms, you know, financially too, it's our bread and butter. We just recently shipped some chaga to Hong Kong, and we've got customers in Australia and, you know, kind of all over the place. Well, I guess most are Michigan-based because I think a lot of those folks are wanting mushrooms that are found right in our state. It's an interesting part of what we do. Chaga is probably our biggest seller. We look for that year-round. This chaga we picked just the other day. It's one that we've been scouting out and just waiting for the right moment to harvest. And Aaron was able to climb up the tree and pull this one down. We have that available in tea bags, in chunks, and in grounds. And we use it in our adaptogen blend, which is the turkey tail, reishi, and chaga.
My wife and I are allowed to recognize 20 different species of wild forage mushrooms in Michigan. They call it mycorrhizal, and what that is that these mushrooms have a relationship with the trees that they grow near. And so for that reason, you're not going to find them in your grocery stores frequently. It's a mycorrhizal mushroom, but they're absolutely delicious. And then ever since we passed our certification, it has enabled us to go ahead and provide mushrooms to the public, as well as expand our knowledge of the existing mushrooms that we have throughout all of our woods.
You know, kind of finding shelf-stable products and things that could ship, along with the actual mushrooms that could be sold to local restaurants and then just to the general public at the farmers market, just really has opened the door for us to just primarily do that.
Yeah, being part of the Sarah Hardy Farm Market in Traverse City has really become an essential part of our business. The relationships that we've developed, the friendships, just the feedback. We're really fortunate and humbled to get all sorts of positive feedback, and people come back saying, even just this morning, those chanterelles last week were wonderful. To summarize, these mushrooms that we do provide to the public, they have an extreme tendency to sell themselves, especially once we start talking about the nutritional benefits and the vitamin and mineral content, the beta-glucans, the omega oils that you can find on some of the product.
You know, but just to get out there and talk mushrooms, I'm always learning from fellow foragers that are visiting us at the market and telling us what they're finding wherever they're from, and so that's really the interesting part of what we do.
I think one of the things that stands Jill and I apart from some of the other companies that are up and coming is our 100% commitment to providing the utmost quality. It's crucial when it comes to wild forage fare, and we want, whether it's someone that comes to the market or whether it's someone that's placing an order online, we want their experience to be A+ and beyond, and we want them to have the reassurance that we're giving them the most fresh product or the highest quality product. When it comes to all of the mushrooms that we do provide to the public, those are found on private property. So All the mushrooms that you see packaged or brought to the farm market, those are in huge thanks to the 36 plus different private property owners that have allowed us access onto their land. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. The commitment to quality and knowing what that means has really made it so that we do have return clientele time and time again.
Jill and I just went and found these fresh specimens this week, so.
Consulting and teaching is definitely an important part of our business. We really want the community to be able to find their own mushrooms, both for medicinal and culinary purposes. Being able to instruct through the Department of Natural Resources has really helped us out. For one, financially, it's a paid thing, but also to reach some of the extended community. The state of Michigan, we have people that travel quite a ways to take our classes, and those people stay in touch. They're always texting me photos saying, what is this and what is that? So we're really so thankful to see that people are getting out in their woods and enjoying what we have in this beautiful state that we live in. If we teach somebody what a chanterelle is and they go out and find a bumper crop, there's a good chance they'll sell them back to us. So that's helpful.
There's that. When it comes to cultivation, our intentions as well is to propagate some of the wild forage mushrooms that we come across. So I'm hoping in the future to get to a point where we can collect spores from these wild forage mushrooms within the area, particularly state land, and then bring those into indoors and learn how to propagate and sustain those specific species that are local to this area.
And it left a spore print.
We're in the process of remodeling a commercial kitchen as we speak, with a laboratory, primarily so that we would be able to cultivate mushrooms on a larger scale.
We've been trying to encourage our kids to get involved.
My son went foraging with me yesterday and did the rush trip to the Upper Peninsula, and slowly but surely he's beginning to recognize and identify these mushrooms as an example. But our real long-term goal is kind of being uncovered as we go to an extent. We really want to stay as somewhat of a staple in the community, or create this business into a staple of the community, I should say. So that would be our long-term goal, I would say, is to continue to develop and become more educated ourselves, as well as educate the public.
Our best days are the days that we can spend together in the woods.
Absolutely. And in regards to having one of the best offices, if not the best office in the world, my wife gave me that gift. Those days that I am foraging and she's back at the house doing processing or packaging or answering phone calls, I feel a little spoiled at moments, but I try to include her to the best of my ability.
My favorite part of the day is also spending the time in the woods. I love to just be out there and, just kind of, I guess, just exploring. And it's sort of like an adult treasure hunt, or an adult Easter egg hunt, I should say. It's exciting. I'm competitive, so when I can find more mushrooms than Aaron, that's pretty fun.
And I don't believe in competition, so it works.